In the 2020 NFL season, the Green Bay Packers offense was indisputably one of the best in the league. The second season in Matt LaFleur's offense led to a huge leap from almost every single aspect of the offense. Aaron Rodgers threw for almost 50 touchdowns with only 5 interceptions on his way to an MVP season. Davante Adams posted monster numbers and had a career year, while the offensive line was one of the best in the league, and you had Aaron Jones in the backfield leading the run game. Almost every single aspect of that offense came together, leading the Packers offense to be one of the most electric in the league. But how did Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams both have career years? Why was that offense so dynamic? What exactly did Matt LaFleur do to get that duo to go absolutely insane this year? Well, it all just comes down to matchups. The Packers were able to use matchup advantages and were able to counter any defensive tendency. Before we get into the film, please be sure to hit that subscribe button below and click the notification bell so you never miss a new video. If you have recommendations for future videos, comment them down below and I'll definitely consider making a video on that. With all that said, let's just get into the film. Matt LaFleur's offense in 2020 was the perfect example of the famous saying, "Take what the defense gives you." The Packers were constantly using whatever tendencies or adjustments the defense had, and LaFleur knew exactly how to counter it. Let's take a look at these two drives against the Eagles for a perfect example of this. On the Packers' opening drive, they started with a toss play to the left, which ended up being a fumble, but it was recovered by the offense. Then on second down, after a huge loss, the Eagles ran man coverage across the field, a variant of cover 1, and Terrace actually covered Davante Adams exceptionally well and strapped him up on this play, leading to a sack. On third down, it looks like the Eagles ran zone coverage, but Rodgers ended up checking the ball down for a gain of 9, and it was a 3-and-out. A very poor drive by Green Bay's offense, but if you thought that was going to stop them, you're dead wrong. Let's fast forward to the next drive. After a 1-yard run on first down, LaFleur knew that Jim Schwartz, the Eagles' defensive coordinator, would most likely continue running man coverage since it worked pretty well the first time around, and generally Jim Schwartz likes to run a lot of man coverage, just a man-heavy scheme. So LaFleur pulls out this very well-designed play-action pass. You can see that Adams is lined up inside the numbers, and Slay is lined up pressed against him, a clear indicator that they're in man coverage. When you have a receiver motioning across the formation and the defender follows him, that again just verifies that the Eagles were for sure most likely in man coverage. So the Packers ran a play fake to the direction of where Adams and Slay were lined up, which is the right side of the offensive line, and you can see that Slay actually bit very hard on that play fake. You really can't blame him for biting on that because that was a very well designed play action pass. During the play fake, Adams is able to slip out underneath and ends up getting wide open for a big gain of about 20 some yards. This series here shows us exactly how the Packers were countering defensive tendencies. Noticing the Eagles' tendency to run man coverage, and that it was actually working fairly well, LaFleur finds a way to get Adams wide open regardless. Throughout the season, that was the Packers' philosophy. If a certain defense works well for you, we know exactly what you're doing and how to counter it, and you'll need to figure something else out. And when you do figure something else out, we're going to know exactly what you're doing, and we're going to have a counter for that too. Outside of just the defensive adjustments, Rodgers and Adams were almost always taking advantage of one-on-one matchups with Adams. In all honesty, there are probably only 3 or 4 corners in the league that could potentially shut down Adams, and frankly, one of them is on the Packers roster, Jair Alexander, so you get the idea. There aren't many opposing cornerbacks that can handle Davante Adams. Whenever Adams was lined up on the outside with a corner who gave him cushion and one that wasn't of Adams' par, he and Rodgers would check to a comeback or out route, and it was bombs away every single time. This was very effective in that, again, they can take what the defense gives them. If you're just going to hand them a free 7 to 8 yards, they're going to take it every time. Whenever Green Bay played a team that didn't have a corner who could handle Adams, they wouldn't just let that matchup sit there. They were going to harass that corner all game long. Let's take the example of Green Bay's game in Week 2 against the Detroit Lions. You had Davante Adams matched up against Jeff Okudah for the majority of the game in Matt Patricia's man-heavy scheme. Now, disclaimer, I do think that Okudah has all the talent in the world, and I think he's going to have a huge season next year. But cornerback is, by a huge margin in my opinion, the most difficult position to transition from college to the NFL at. So when you have a rookie corner, even one that was a number 3 overall pick and one of the best cornerback prospects we've seen in a while, but it's his second career start, and he's matched up against Davante Adams. So that's a huge advantage for them. LaFleur and the offense knows that, so the Packers were taking advantage of that all game long, and frankly, you had to feel bad for Okudah. They were targeting him all game, and Davante Adams just frankly harassed him. So at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams having huge years this season was a huge testament to how great a play caller Matt LaFleur really is. I feel like that's not talked about enough. Matt LaFleur really is a very good play caller. He doesn't just call plays for the sake of calling them. He knows the defensive tendencies of the opposition, and he knows exactly how to counter those defensive tendencies. They spent all season long exploiting matchups and countering defensive tendencies. It was practically impossible to stop. And if Aaron Rodgers does come back to Green Bay next year, I don't see that duo slowing down anytime soon.